Hey, Marcus Washington, thank you for joining us for the series on Georgetown's transfer pickups. In this episode, we are looking at KJ Lewis, 6'4" guard, Arizona. First of all, what jumps out at you is 6'4" guard. Georgetown obviously had smallish guards last year in Jaden Epps and Malik Mack. And getting bigger, getting kind of stronger in the backcourt, especially on the defensive end, certainly had to be a goal. Now, Lewis had a sophomore year where I think he only started maybe 4 or 5 games. He played in all the games, but didn't start. He only started a handful. Averaged 10.8 points a game, 4.6 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. Little scary on the turnovers. I think it was around 2 a game for him. So at times a little loosey-goosey. I don't think he's a pure point guard. He can be a primary ball handler. There's no doubt about it. But, you're not getting, Ed Cota or Michael Jackson or someone like that. That's not what you're getting. His 3-point percentage went from 34.1 in his freshman year to 18.8 in his sophomore year. I will say this: when I see a drop like this, 9 times out of 10, I'll even say more, 99% of the time, the drop is surrounded around shot selection. It's not mechanics. It's not even, at times, it's not even a loss of confidence. A lot of times when you see a significant drop, because he made the same amount on average of threes, the problem was it was in the 3 attempt increase. So you can't have the first number stay the same and the second number get larger. And again, a lot of times that's indicative of poor shot selection. That is not to criticize Arizona. That's just to say that probably that won't be as much as a problem here. The thing that I liked about him is being able off the bounce to get into the lane. I mean, I just love that. Being able to find a way to finish off the bounce in the lane at 6'4", especially if he's on like size or smaller guards. I love that. Being able, he's an attack type of guy. He can hit that midi. I also like that too, that foul line extended type of shot. He can also hit that. And think about how many times in the offense this year that mid-range area was open. How many times did you see it open? It was open. Being able to knock that down, not only do you get the 2 points, but it opens the floor up, because now they're not pressing on the perimeter as much as far as on ball or maybe one pass away, and leaving that area open if you can punish them in that area. That's why I've always said about the mid-range, and it's the same in the NBA too. People keep screaming, yeah, oh my God, the mid-range is going away. Nobody wants to shoot the mid-range. It's not that no one wants to shoot the mid-range. It's not that no one shoots the mid-range. Those 2 things are not true. They don't shoot it as often. That's what it is. You don't necessarily scheme for it in some of the offenses. Well, I can tell you what, as much as Georgetown curls, they're scheming for it. And it's not only Georgetown. Now, what's happening is that players are so talented, a lot of times on the scheme, on the curl, they're finding their ways to get to the front of the rim, as opposed to back in my era, which was late 80s, where you got it and that was supposed to be a shot, supposed to be mid-range shots. Now with kids and their athleticism and how good they are and how much they play before they get to college, a lot of times they're getting that on that curl and they're going downhill. So that's just a little misnomer about the whole mid-range thing. But anyway, Lewis operates well in that area. And I do think his 3-point percentage will go back up and be back in those 30s where it was in his freshman year at Arizona. On defense, he can guard both guard positions. Again, I think teaming him together with Deshaun Harris-Smith gives Ed a chance. If he has him on the floor at the same time, you switch everything. You switch everything in the backcourt, you switch everything. Or at least you're switching 1 through 3, 1 through 4. I mean, you can do that with those guys and their bodies in the Big East. So again, as much as we like to look at the offense and about 11 points a game in a power conference as a sophomore, and you're not starting the majority of the time, it's pretty daggum impressive. But defensively, and if you have listened to the other ones, defensively, you're seeing Georgetown building a roster where you're going to have a lot of options defensively. And then the offense will take care of itself. Hopefully you have more possessions in transition and secondary transition, and less possessions in half court. But let's be for real. With all the injuries last year, it's only a handful of games where Georgetown had a problem scoring. It was always on the defensive end where they had the problem with, but only a handful of games, even games without Sorber, they scored. So I can see where Ed is going with this, and I can see where KJ Lewis fits into the scheme. So I hope you have joined us for all of our series. It was 5-part series because at the taping of this, they brought in 5 portal transfers. If you haven't watched all of them, please watch all of them. It kind of puts together the story of how Georgetown has built the stuff in the offseason. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.